जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्ण. As we always start before the Krishna Katha, the beautiful sloka from Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha chaktadeham punarjanma naiti mameti suarjuna, where Krishna Bhagavan telling in Bhagavad Gita that one who understands the transcendental pastimes of Krishna's birth, Krishna's divine leelas, even if he understands this Krishna Katha, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says that once they leave this material world, will not come back, but directly will go to Krishna Loka. So it is very, very auspicious to even hear Krishna Katha. Many people do not understand the significance. So sometimes they say, what do you hear? Get by reading Bhagavad Gita. You have to follow Bhagavad Gita. You don't get anything by reading. But this Krishna Bhagavan himself is saying, yes, but even by reading, also it is so auspicious that it will take us directly to Krishna Prema and Krishna Loka. So we had to keep that in mind. And it is more joyful and it's more blissful when we hearing Krishna Katha in the association of devotees. And I find it extremely so fortunate and pray to Krishna's blessing that I have this opportunity to share about, to recite this Krishna Katha in the association of devotees, and especially in the presence of Ramnath Prabhuji, who has always been giving us wonderful guidance and insights in bhakti life. Prabhuji has been for so many decades and always, so it is such an honor and such a fortune to have the association of Prabhuji. So I'll just share the screen and we will get into the Krishna Katha. So a bit of previous one left, and on the rasa dance towards the ending, and then we will go into the next chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Jai Radha Radha Jai Shri Krishna. So as we were discussing last week also about the beautiful rasa dance and how it was been unfolding, and how Krishna, after disappearing for some time, again comes back to the gopis, and how nicely they're engaging themselves in doing the rasa dance. Then they go to the Yamuna River, take a bath over there. So, and we covered all that, the beautiful pastime of that. And Krishna Bhagwan, when he was there on the planet Earth, to set an example also about the importance of Brahma Murta. As you can see, after the rasa dance was over in the night, during the night of Brahma, and here this divine pastime is important to understand how Krishna is always reciprocating to his devotees, who's always, whatever the love that we show towards Krishna, how much we are missing towards Krishna, Krishna is also constantly reciprocating. Ye yatamam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyaham. Krishna Bhagavan says, according to the level of surrender and how much we will have love towards Krishna, Krishna also reciprocates and responds to us, to the devotees. And as you can see over here, after the rasa dance was over in the night of Brahma, a very, very long period as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about one night of Brahma is so many lifetimes. Such a very, very long period, some millions of years. And so here we can see that after the rasa dance was over, the night of Brahma, as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, turns into a Brahma Murta. And that Brahma Murta, usually it happens about 1.5 hours before sunrise. And in India, we remember, like, about the importance that was given in spiritual life, that any spiritual practices that we do, we should do it during this Brahma Murta, because it has an extreme significance. Even though Krishna Bhagavan mentions about mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance, and morning is in the mode of goodness, and afternoon is in the mode of passion, and evening is in the mode of ignorance. But Brahma Murta is in the mode of pure goodness, just not goodness, Suddha Sattva, and that is the mode of pure goodness. So that moment and that particular period is so important for spiritual activities, by performing Mangalarti and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and which is done even in the manner also in the early in the morning. And this, yeah, and as I said, this is very important for executing the spiritual activities. And when the Krishna was engaged in the rasa dance with the gopis, and when this Murta came of Brahma Murta, immediately Krishna asked the gopis to leave. And even though, as we know, the gopis, they were missing Krishna so much, they were always waiting for Krishna's association. And finally, when Krishna appeared and spent some time as well, but now they couldn't say anything because Krishna has asked the gopis to leave, and they were very obedient to him. So, and as soon as Krishna asked them to go, they immediately left and returned home. And Sukadeva Goswami, who's been mentioning this whole of Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, he concludes this episode of Rasa Leela by pointing out that if a person hears from the right source about the pastime of Krishna, who's Vishnu himself, and the gopis, who are expansions of his energy, he'll be relieved of the most dangerous type of disease, namely the lust. So it is very important that Krishna Katha and especially Rasa Leela should be discussed only among the association of devotees, and not people in the who are non-devotees or people in the material world, because they may not understand the significance of it. They may not understand the importance of, or how it is on a spiritual platform. None of these things are happening on a material platform. And as we said, these gopis are expansions of Radharani. So they're not someone who can just talk about like people or, Vrindavan, who are just like ordinary people, but they are just expansions of Radharani. So you can imagine how pure they were. And even so, as I mentioned, even hearing this Krishna Katha also, which will relieve us from the most dangerous type of this disease. And as you can see, Krishna Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, 3 things that we need to give up, right? Lust, greed, and anger. And here one of the most important diseases is the lust, because lust, if you look at it broadly, it could be for so many things, so many material things that we are always constantly craving for, In other words, one who actually hears the Rasa Leela will become completely freed from the lusty desire of sex life and elevated to the highest level of spiritual understanding. Because it is very important to understand things at a spiritual level, because we are all spirit souls or jivatmas. So this human life is mainly to cultivate this spiritual knowledge and to understand the higher importance of spiritual life. Bhagavan Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhya paramana manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe paratastu saha. With Krishna Bhagavan saying, the 5 senses are superior to this dull matter. Dull matter meaning this body without the Atma is nothing but dull matter. So Krishna Bhagavan is saying your 5 senses are superior to the dull matter, and your mind is higher than the senses, and your intelligence is still higher than the mind, and the Atma or the spirit soul is still even higher than the intelligence. And this whole process of chanting the holy names is to cleanse completely, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, cleanse everything, all the anarthas, so that we will be able to see ourselves clearly in this mirror and be able to understand the spiritual realization. So understanding even the Krishna Kathas also on the spiritual platform, trying to understand that these are all at a very, very high spiritual platform, and that will help us to elevate to the better level of understanding. Otherwise, a common man will never be able to understand these very, very important and deep topics. Generally, because they hear the Rasa Leela from Mayavadis and they themselves are Mayavadis, they become more implicated in sex life. The conditioned soul should hear the Rasa Leela from our authorized spiritual master and be trained by him so he can understand the whole situation. So we are, if you really look at it, we are so fortunate that we are in this parampara, Brahma Madhava parampara, and we are following properly in this through this parampara of what has been passed on from Prabhupada. And it's very important that we maintain this lineage of this parampara and pass this authentic knowledge from devotees to the next generation of devotees, so that they have the actual essence, the nectar of what exactly this Rasa Leela is all about. Only when you're at a spiritual platform you can understand. And material lust is a kind of a heat disease, and cure of material disease are the conditions. So in fact, the whole process of trying to understand Krishna Katha, the whole process is of chanting the holy names is to uplift ourselves, to elevate ourselves to the spiritual level. So all these things, like how when we are driving, it's important to maintain the clutch and like accelerator and also the gears and everything happening seamlessly. See, similarly, these things should need to happen in parallel. I mean, on one side, we are practicing chanting of the holy names, on the other hand, understanding the Krishna Bhakti. So each of these things are going to help each other. So when we're hearing more of Krishna Katha and we start developing love of Krishna, then our chanting will become much more deeper and much more personal and much more engaged in Krishna. Similarly, when we are chanting and all the anarthas are removed and all the Cheto Darpana Marjana, when we all cleanse the all anarthas, we will be able to understand this Krishna Katha even much more deeper, at more higher level in the association of devotees. So each of these different sadhanas that we are doing help each other and help us to elevate at a higher platform. And Krishna Bhagavan mentions, and it's very important to engage our mind in this way to elevate ourselves to the spiritual level. Because Bhagavan Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Udaredatmanatmanam atmanam avasadaye atmaiva hayatmano bandur atmaiva ripuratmanaha, where Bhagavan Sri Krishna says one must elevate himself or deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is a friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So we have to be very careful about this beautiful point that Krishna Bhagavan is saying. We should use our mind and we should use this chanting to purify our mind. So when the mind is purified, we will be able to understand this Krishna Katha, we will be able to understand who we are and the entire significance of Krishna Katha and how important it is and how it will help us to bring closer to Krishna consciousness. So all these things are very, very important. Sukadev Goswami uses two specific words, Bhaktim and Param. Bhaktim Param means execution of devotional service above the neophyte stage. Those who are simply attracted to temple worship but do not understand the philosophy of bhakti are in the neophyte stage. Like we find many people, for them it's almost like it is good because Krishna Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita there are four types of people who come to him. People who are, just coming for some material reason, they are in some problem or some pain, and some people are out of inquisitiveness. Some people are really want to engage in bhakti life. And so there are different type of people who come. And one set of people, as you can see, they come to the temple worship because they have that faith that, if I come and do some archana or just pray to Krishna, he will help us with our, problems and all that. But as you keep engaging, take the next step towards bhakti life, then you can start engaging yourself in chanting. And once you're associated with the devotees, then you understand that, how much can I keep on? Why do you have to keep on going and begging for Krishna? Like, can you give me this? Can you give me that? Can you give me this problem? Can we get out of this problem? I mean, the very simple example is that instead of going and asking for material benefits to Krishna, Krishna, give me a nice car, give me this beautiful job, give me an upgrade after this thing. And we are all constantly trying to upgrade our material life by going to Krishna and asking for all kind of things. But the most important thing is, if we engage in bhakti life, if we engage in chanting the holy names and we are pleasing Krishna, just like a father, when a father is very happy with his children and if we are showing our love towards a father, I brought this beautiful thing for you. Father, I'm going to study well and I will just bring you a good name. Like simply in those ways, when a child is trying to please the father, does the child have to tell the father, Father, bribe me this, buy me that? Father is going to get the best of the best for you because you've been so lovingly pleasing your father. So similarly, this bhakti life is so important because it will please Krishna. And when Krishna is pleased, then he's going to give us much more. He's going to give much more higher than anything else material. He's going to give Krishna prema itself. He's saying that I'm ready to offer myself itself, it's instead of giving you some material benefits, because there's so many gods. When we go, they may be pleased with you, the demigods, and they may give you what you want, without understanding, like, maybe that may implicate you into more problems, many times we don't realize, but when we get these material benefits also, it may lead into further problems as well. We do not know the longer picture, but Krishna he's saying, like, I'll give you the more higher than all these things, because no matter whatever material things that we get, we are all looking for happiness. That's the main essence of everything. These material things we want because that's going to give us happiness. And Krishna Bhagavan is saying, if you take to my chanting, I'll give you the highest thing, which is Krishna Prema. And when you are so blissed out with this Prema, then you don't need all these things. Just like Dhruva Maharaj, when he was praying to Krishna, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva, and so seriously was chanting Krishna's name. And after 6 months, when Krishna Bhagavan actually appeared in front of Dhruva Maharaj and asked him, child, what do you want? He said, after seeing Krishna, he said, Krishna, after seeing you, what else do I want? I do not want anything. I'm totally satisfied. And that Krishna Katha is so important to understand, that when we actually develop the love for Krishna, we'll be like so satisfied that we don't want anything at all. That bhakti life itself will give so much of ananda or blissful that we don't want anything else at all. And Krishna and Dhruva Maharaj says, like, when I see you, Krishna, it's like I feel like, why I've been chanting all this long for broken glass pieces when a diamond like you were in front of me. That is Dhruva Maharaj's realization. So this Krishna Katha and these beautiful divine Leelas in Bhagavatam is to give us this knowledge and understanding, because we don't get the bigger picture. So that is why Krishna is trying to tell through these leelas that I'm ready to give you much, much more higher than all these things. Why are you craving for all these small, small things? I'm going to give you much, much more. So here, Sukadeva Goswami is talking about that level of bhakti, bhaktim parim param, which means a much, much higher stage than the neophyte stage. Um, so that's the reason why Krishna Bhagavan explains about what is a first class bhakti, which is bhakti yoga, or a first class yogi. Yoginamapi sarve sammadgatenantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamamataha, where one is thinking of Krishna within himself and rendering transcendental loving service. That is the highest form of bhakti, which Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita, which is what is giving us this knowledge that this is what he wants us to do. When you turn outside, you have the material world. When you turn inside, you have Krishna sitting in your heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sandavisto matasmitir jnanam apohanam cha vedaisya sarvairaham veda vedanta vidre. The Vedas is full of knowledge. And the whole purpose of getting all this knowledge is to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Bhagavan. That's the reason why Krishna says, if you can understand Krishna, then you know everything. Because the whole purpose of all the scriptures is to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that according to Bhagavad Gita, Brahma's day and Brahma's night are periods of solar years expanding to 4,300,000 multiplied by 1,000. So we can imagine how long it is. And according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Rasa dance was performed during the long period of Brahma's night. So we can imagine how long this Rasa dance was spread. It was spread during this long period of Brahma's night. But the gopis could not understand that. In order to fulfill their desire, Krishna extended the night to cover such a great period of time. So you can see this is the point of reciprocation that we are talking about, that they wanted Krishna as their husband. So on this beautiful autumn night, that how Krishna is giving them so much of his time that during the long period of Brahma's night, but gopis were not aware of it, but it was Krishna has extended the night to cover such a great period of time. Same like how he hid the calves and cows and the cowherd boys from Brahma. Even Brahma couldn't figure out. For 1 year, he couldn't even figure out that Krishna is actually replicated and put clones of all those cowherd boys and the gopis, cowherd boys and the cows and all. Even Brahma couldn't make out. So with Krishna, anything is possible. So he could even kind of like mesmerize someone like even Brahma, the creator. So what to speak about the gopis here? One may speak how this is possible, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur reminds us that Krishna, although bound by a small rope, could show his mother the whole universe within his mouth. How was this possible? The answer is that he can do anything for the pleasure of his devotees. For the pleasure of his devotees. So bhakti is all about the pleasure of Krishna. We are always chanting because we want to please Krishna. We are singing beautiful songs for Krishna songs to please Krishna. So we are doing everything. Bhakti life is all about pleasing Krishna. Material life is all about pleasing our own sense gratification. So here we can see that Krishna is also reciprocating, because he told in Bhagavad Gita, Ananyas Jintayanto ma ye jana paryapashate tesham nityabhiktanam yogashemam vahamyaham. When you are engaged in bhakti life and you're constantly meditating upon me, Krishna Bhagavan says, I'm not going to keep quiet. I am also going to reciprocate, and I'm going to give you what you lack, and I'll preserve what you have, and I'll give you the highest Krishna prema. So here we can see that the Rasa Leela was extended throughout this night of long period of Brahma's night, just because he wanted to please the gopis. So you can see that how Krishna is always trying to please, and that is what is called actual true love. In the material world, we are always trying to do for other person for your own pleasure, because we spend time with other people because that person is making me happy. I was just talking to somebody and they say like, "Oh, I love this person and I like my partner so much because he makes me happy." So the day he stops making a person happy, then the whole relationship went bad actually. But with Krishna, is not like that. Krishna there's so much of love that will always be forever. It's eternal love, because we are all Jivatmas and we belong to the Paramatma. So this love is completely on a spiritual platform, as we can see that the gopis' love is. And then the most important thing is that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is talking about Krishna being bound by a small rope and showing his mother the universe. And I feel so beautiful that to remind that we have Damodar month coming up this month end. October 28th, and I'm just looking forward to that, which means that we can, during our Krishna Katha, we're going to sing Damodar Astakam. And that's going to be so blissful. And I'm really looking forward to that in the association of devotees, that we can sing the Damodar Astakam and all of us can join and we can do a beautiful, kirtan for during this Damodar month, which is extremely auspicious. And I feel such a blessing that that reminds me, because when I went to Vrindavan, they actually, the monk over there showed me that this is the place where Krishna showed his mother. He opened his mouth and showed the whole universe. And for me, I had goosebumps, actually. I said, like, oh my God, Krishna, this is amazing. So all those places of Krishna, and this is what the greatest contribution that the Goswamis did. They unearthed all these beautiful Leela places where all this Krishna Leela happened in Vrindavan. They unearthed and they have come completely brought about all these divine places, whether it is Radharani's birthplace, or Krishna's Nanda Bhavan, and the place where Krishna and Balaram were spending their time, the place where Krishna was bound by a rope, and all those places are still very much there in Vrindavan. And we can, even today, we can just go and see those beautiful divine places, which will bring us to our mind how beautiful it must have been during that time. Similarly, because the gopis wanted to enjoy Krishna, they were given the opportunity to associate with him for a long period. This was done according to his promise. So Krishna, as we know, he's always trying to fulfill his promise, and he will ready to even break his promise. As we can see on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, that he broke his own promise and he took up the wheel to fight against Bhishma Pitama, because that was the desire of Bhishma Pitama, that Krishna should lift a weapon to fight with him. So he's always trying to please his devotees. When Krishna stole the garments of the gopis while they were taking a bath at Shiragata on the Yamuna, he promised to fulfill the desire in some future night. In one night, therefore, they enjoyed the company of Krishna as the beloved husband. But that night was not an ordinary night. It was a night of Brahma, the lasting millions and millions of years. Everything is possible for Krishna, for he is the supreme controller. So we have to understand that's why we say supreme personality of Godhead, the head of so there's no one who's more superior than Krishna Bhagwan. Anything is possible. Even the whole planetary systems are kept in the orbit by the power of Krishna, as Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita. And even he enters into each and every planet, and by my energy, they stay in the orbit, Krishna says. So we can imagine how powerful it is that even the planets are floating in the space and they're just staying in the orbit by the complete control of Krishna. So we have to understand that these are not ordinary topics. They are highly elevated topics to be understood on a spiritual platform. So that comes to an end for the Rasa dance. This is one of the most blissful chapter in Krishna Katha, because Rasa dance, and this is something which is very, very personal, something which is very, very dear to understand how Krishna spends time with the gopis. So with your permission, that comes to the end. I want to take any realizations or any points before I just talk about the next chapter. Is there anything that anyone wants to share about? Nagaraj Prabhu, Hemal Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Malati Machari, Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, we just completed the chapter of Rasa Leela, and how beautiful is our understanding. And we can't thank Prabhupada enough for giving us this beautiful nectar and giving us the actual knowledge of what actually this Rasa dance is. Any comments or any realizations or anything? Today, I just wanted to make sure we stop it at, I'll stop the next chapter at 9 o'clock, and then we'll take any realizations, and then we will close for them also. But for this end of this chapter, if everybody's fine, then I can go to the next chapter as well. Ramnath Prabhuji, anything?
Well, yeah, this very last point about Rasa Leela being, what's to say, a night of Brahma, which is many millions of years. And it's like, well, wait a second, what does that really, what's that mean? It's a very mystical concept that here Rasa Leela is going on, you could say, on the Earth planet, in Gokul Vrindavan, but in Golok Vrindavan, Rasa Leela is eternally going on. It never stops. It's a Nitya Leela. It's somehow or other this mood of Krishna dancing with the gopis like this in the moonlight and everything is it just never stops. It's always going on. How is so it's kind of like these stories there in KrishnaBook, and yes, we understand that this actually took place, and we have the Vrindavan and the place there in Vrindavan where what's the place called, the forest there where the Rasa Leela took place?
Not this that's what's the name?
In
I
Nidivan?
can't.
Is that Nidivan?
Not Nidivan. It's a and
Uh,
they make sure that people don't go there at night.
Kamyakavana?
Huh?
Kamyakavana?
I can't hear you. What was it?
It is
There's a
Kamyakavana. Kamyavana.
special little forest there right in downtown Vrindavan. I don't think it's Kamyavan. Anyway, the exact name eludes me, but
it was
this is the place where they say that every evening Rasa dance takes place. So these ideas are very mystical. In other words, Radha and Krishna and Radharani's expansion as the gopis and Krishna expanding to please the gopis. This is always going on.
yes.
This is kind of, in one sense, very inconceivable, but this is definitely part of our theology, and there's certainly no other theology that can even match this kind of understanding of the love exchange of Radha and Krishna and Rasa Leela,
Yes.
and going into this idea of that night was actually a night of Brahma, because the night of Brahma is how many billions or millions of years? It's just inconceivably long.
Inconceivable. Yes, true.
Anyway, it's just an observation. Maybe
Yes.
someone else wants to comment on it. It's just one
Yes.
of those beautiful things when you hear it, it kind of
Yes.
sticks. You kind of scratch your head and wonder what's going on.
Yes, Prabhuji. That makes us also understand, like if you take a small, any living entity, compared to their life, we have a much higher life. But again, in this whole universe, if you look at it from that level, how insignificant is our life when you compare to the
Yes.
that is
We're
another reason.
insignificant compared to these analogies.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if we really look at, if you take a small living being and if it has to understand how much their life is compared to that, it looks like a very huge life. Like, so similarly, but when we compare our lives, how insignificant it is compared to the some of these things that have happened. So absolutely. Prabhuji, with your permission, maybe if you want, shall we go to the next chapter, Prabhuji, and
Yes,
then
let's go right in. No problem.
yes, Prabhuji, another 20 minutes we'll do, and then we will. So this is chapter number 34. Vidyadhara liberated and the demon Sankachuda killed. So this is another new chapter which we are beginning to get. The Rasa dance we have covered, and we're moving on to the next one. Once upon a time, the cowherd men of Vrindavana, headed by Nanda Maharaj, decided to go to Ambikavana to observe the Sivaratri ceremony. The Rasa Leela was performed during the autumn, and after that, the next big ceremony is Holi, or the Dolayatara ceremony. Between the Dolayatra ceremony and the Rasa Leela ceremony, there is an important ceremony called Shivaratri, which is especially observed by the Shaivites, or devotees of Lord Shiva. Sometimes the Vaishnavas also observe this ceremony because they accept Lord Shiva as the foremost Vaishnava. But the function of Shivaratri is not observed very regularly by the bhaktas or devotees of Krishna. Under the circumstances, Srimad Bhagavatam states that Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men once upon a time desired. This means that they were not regularly observing the Shivaratri function, but that once upon a time they wanted to go to Ambikavana out of curiosity. Ambikavana is somewhere in Gujarat province, and it's said to be situated on the river Saraswati. And yet we do not find any Saraswati river in Gujarat province, although there is a river named Savarmati. In India, all the big places of pilgrimage are situated on the nice rivers like Ganga, Ganges, and Yamuna, Saraswati, Narmada, Godavari, and Kaveri. Ambikavana was situated on the banks of Saraswati, and Nanda Maharaj and all the other cowherd men went there. So this is another Leela of Krishna Katha unfolding, where we can see that even in India right now, even till date, Shivratri is being followed. I remember when we were young, our parents used to ask us to stay back in the night. We used to watch movies and things like that, but they just wanted us to be, awake during the night of Shivratri. So it seems to be like the Shivratri. As we know, I think it comes somewhere in February. So it's between the Rasa Leela and Doli Yatra ceremony, and that's when this Shivratri is normally done. And then now Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men, they all go to celebrate this Shivratri. And also, as Ramnath Prabhuji, as we were talking about it, I think this is quite. Yes, Prabhuji.
This part of Krishna book is sometimes used by devotees to say that actually in ISKCON we don't celebrate Shivaratri, because this is what Prabhupada said, that this is sometimes celebrated, that the residents of Vrindavan were not regular in their celebration of it, that it is a Shaivite festival. And what this is the culture from 5,000 years ago, and I'm sure that's all very well and good. What I'm using, though, is a different kind of conception coming from Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sanatan Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, where they emphasize actually Shivaratri not as a Shaivite festival, not as a Hindu festival, but as a Vaishnava festival. And that's the important consideration, that Lord Shiva can and should be yearly celebrated on Mahashivaratri as a Vaishnava festival, and for preaching purposes, for the missionary work of spreading Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, we can utilize Mahashivaratri to invite members of the Hindu or Sanatan Dharma, however you want to refer to them, a congregation, to come celebrate Shivaratri at Bhaktivedanta Manor at the Sri Krishna Haveli, but you make it very clear we're celebrating a Vaishnava Shivaratri, where the focus is to educate people about Lord Shiva as a very dear and great devotee of Lord Krishna, and specifically focus in on Gopishwar Mahadev and his service there in Vrindavan to Radha and Krishna. This would be educational, this would be inspiring, this would draw in many more people within the Indian Hindu community that would not otherwise come to the manor, or it would also alleviate some of the doubt of some of the Indians that, yes, they like Prabhupada, they like ISKCON, the deity worship is wonderful, everything, the kirtans, the philosophy, but then they sometimes wonder why we neglect Lord Shiva on Shivaratri. So we shouldn't neglect Lord Shiva on Shivaratri. That's my perspective. We should preach, utilize it for preaching purposes and for educational purposes, and that in that way, Srila Prabhupada would actually be very pleased. Not that we neglect or ignore, or as sometimes I say, we ignore out of ignorance. In other words, do we really understand that Lord Shiva is a great Vaishnava, and that we are meant to celebrate Vaishnavas like this incredible Vaishnava Lord Shiva that he is, on once a year annual Mahashivaratri? So I'm very, you know, what am I say, focused on trying to do this because it'd be innovative. It'd be somewhat of a paradigm shift. I've got His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami, um, who's very influential in issues dealing with specifically deity worship. He's a scholar. He got his PhD at Oxford University, and he wrote his dissertation on Radharaman in Vrindavan and Radha Gokulananda at Bhaktivedanta Manor. He was comparing the styles of deity worship. So he's a scholar, and he also understands that the time is right now to actually introduce this um, into the London Yatra, into Bhaktivedanta Manor. And knowing well that if it were to happen and to be done successfully after a few years' time, then we would actually set a precedent for other ISKCON temples who would see the need also to introduce Mahashivaratri in their community, wherever they are in the world, America, Australia, Europe, India. So that's what I'm looking at. Not that we utilize this one short paragraph where Prabhupada is saying, yes, the residents of Vrindavan sometimes did it, but they didn't do it very regularly. It was kind of like this optional thing. Well, maybe that's what it was 5,000 years ago. That was part of the culture. But the Goswamis are saying a different mood to actually celebrate it as Vaishnava Shivaratri. So anyone want to comment on that or think
Um,
about it?
Prabhuji, the very fact that you mentioned that this was mentioned by Sanatan Goswami and Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and we follow, in
Yes.
fact, footsteps of them. And so it is very important for us to
Yes.
not to ignore, but to acknowledge that what their teachings are. In fact, I think
Yes.
if you ask us, like, what do we follow? We say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed the Goswamis, so which means that indirectly we are following the teachings.
Yes.
What the Goswamis are doing, we're having a stamp of approval of what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they were doing according to the wishes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And if Sanatan Goswami, and if they were talking about, that it's important that we acknowledge that even Lord Shiva is listening. And also, like, my point is that whom do we call Vaishnava? Someone who's chanting the holy names of Krishna and Rama. And and it is so important. A couple of points which I wanted to mention is, in Vishnu Sahasranama, when the whole of Vishnu Sahasranama was recited, and Parvati at the end of Bhishma Pitama reciting Vishnu Sahasranama, Parvati asked Lord Shiva, Kenopaye na laguna Vishnu nama sahasrakam pachitai panditai nitya stotu mityamyam prabhu. So she's asking about people who cannot read all these 1,000 names of Vishnu. What is the other alternative? What is that people can do? And Lord Shiva replied back to Parvati, for people who can't recite the Vishnu Sahasranam and to do something which is equivalent to that, then Shiva says, Sri Rama Rama Ramiti Rame Rami Munorame Sahasranama Tatulyam Rama Nama Varanani. Sri says, like, if you cannot go through all these 1,000 names of Vishnu, you can always recite the names of Rama. So he's again talking about chanting the holy names of Rama. And here what we are doing is, in Hare Krishna Mahamantra has Lord Rama and Lord Krishna in it. So basically, and who can be a bigger Vaishnava than Lord Shiva himself? Is saying, like, yeah, chant the names of Rama. And this is what exactly is part of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So if Lord Shiva himself is saying, yeah, Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Munorame Sahasranama Tachilyam Rama Nama Varanane, that's part of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So indirectly, he's helping us in the Vaishnava. And we say we should always look at serving Vaishnavas. We say that whoever is in the lineage, we should not directly look at Krishna, but we should look at people who are Vaishnavas. We have to serve Vaishnavas first, and that pleases Krishna most. So from that point of view, if I look at it, then why not? Why not we serve Lord Shiva?
Exactly.
And
See, the other argument is that devotees will say that, oh, Prabhupada never established Shivaratri, but Prabhupada didn't have time, and the circumstances were not right during the Prabhupada era to introduce something like that. But now it's like 4.5 decades after Prabhupada has left us. Hopefully, we can be mature enough to actually understand that because Prabhupada never said not to do it. That's a misconception. But they'll say, well, Prabhupada never did it. Yeah, but it wasn't the right timing to try and do that in his fledgling ISKCON society, where the focus had to be on Krishna, Radha and Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Gaunitai, like that. So, and also, like you're saying, we serve Lord Shiva by chanting Hare Krishna. This is something, people don't hear. They don't understand that. If they go to a Shiva Ratri at any other Hindu temple, whether it's in London or in India, they're going to be chanting Om Namah Shivaya. That's not what we should chant. We should chant things like Shivastakam, or the different prayers in glorification of Gopeshwar Mahadev. You could even make a mantra out of Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, and teach people, yes, this is how Vaishnavas celebrate Shivaratri. Lord Shiva is the greatest of all Vaishnavas. And chant that over and over again. The point is, we would do our own innovative way of celebrating Lord Shiva that would be celebrated by the management, by the various Brahmins within the community. Yes, this is good. This is not the Hinduization of ISKCON. This is actually the education of ISKCON and the congregational members on how and why Lord Shiva is an integral and very important part of the Hare Krishna movement. But the more we ignore Shivaratri, it's almost like, to me, it's almost like every year that goes by and that we don't celebrate Shivaratri, it's like an offense. How long will we offend Lord Shiva? How long will we ignore Lord Shiva out of ignorance?
Yes.
That's the way I like to say. We ignore Lord Shiva, but why? Are we still that ignorant that it's not the proper Vaishnava celebration according to the Goswamis? So anyway, I have my points.
Yes.
And Krishna Kshetra Swami has agreed with me. I'm trying to get next SP Keswar Maharaj on my side. Then I want to have a roundtable discussion on Zoom, bringing in the temple managers and Brahmins. And then even ultimately, I think we should have an Istagosti to discuss with the rank and file devotees. If there is to be a first annual Shivaratri, then all of the devotees should be informed ahead of time so they can voice their concerns, so that they have an opportunity to air their concerns rather than be critical, because there will be criticism. I'm well aware of that.
Prabhuji, I realize, like, when we do on the weekends Aarti, and how important it is, like, even Lord Ram, even though the incarnation happened much ahead of Dwapara Yuga, even people are today so emotional about Ram. And because, as you know, from India or background from anywhere, we are so used to, like, Lord Ram and Krishna and Shiva and everyone, like, worshipping. But here we are absolutely clear about, from the scriptures point of view, we are focusing on Bhagavan Sri Krishna. But again, there is a relationship that has happened. I see that, when in manner also, when we are singing Aarti, and suddenly when we sing Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram, you can see the emotions that everybody starts joining, more voices I keep hearing. Because, like, when you say
part of their cultural heritage that
exactly,
they grow up with. Yes.
Exactly. And if I realized that, and Lord Ram is there on the deity, on the altar, and I feel like it is we should honor Ram. And
Hanuman is there, and Hanuman is Rudra.
And yeah, exactly. So my point is, like, again, and he's also chanting Lord Ram's name. He's an incarnation of Shiva, and
a whole discussion talking about Ram and his relationship to Shiva. A whole discussion could be given on Rameshwaram in South India. It's one of the 12 Jyotirlingams. Very important, actually, for us, because we're also Ram Bhaktas, especially at the manor. Lord Ram is there, Sita Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman. And this Rameshwaram temple is fascinating because it's equally visited by Vaishnavas and Shaivites, both visit it.
And that is what
it's a real meeting place. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, when we look at it as a Sanatan Dharma, And when we
Yes.
give this knowledge, when we give this knowledge that Lord Shiva is one of the
Yeah.
Vaishnavas who's always been chanting the Lord Ram's name, and he personally recommends to Parvati that Sri Rama Rama Rameti, which is what is very important.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
should look at it from that point.
Lord Ram himself worshipped Lord Shiva. It's very instructive for all of us to understand what is that about.
Yes, Prabhuji. And yeah.
Anyway, there's so much. There's so many angles of teaching, and there's so many ways it can be kirtan, and the puja I think would be like a simple. My conception would be have a simple setup of an altar, but you have a laminated, a blown up picture of Gopishwar Mahadev, so it can be basically bathed, and it's basically like a plastic deity, but the focus is Gopishwar Mahadev, and that would be our Vaishnava Shivaratri, worship of Gopishwar Mahadev. Even a plastic, a reproduction form, that would be significant for the education and for the experience of the devotees.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, it's another important topic. I'm sure there must be so much of nectar that we are going to go through. I'll just take a few minutes more time, Prabhuji. I think it's coming up to
Yeah,
9.
I mean, I just wanted to bring it up because this is the part of the Krishna book where devotees do use to say that, oh, just see, we're not supposed to do Shivaratri.
Yeah. I'll just cover a couple of paragraphs, Prabhuji, and then we will end for today.
Okay.
So Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men out there from Nanda Maharaj who have visited this place called Ambikavana, they began to worship the deity of Lord Shiva and Ambika. It's a general practice that whenever there is a temple of Lord Shiva, there must be another temple of Ambika or Durga, because Ambika is a wife of Lord Shiva and is the most exalted of chaste women. She doesn't live outside the association of her husband. After reaching Ambikavana, the cowherd men of Vrindavan first bathed themselves in the river Saraswati. If one goes to any place of pilgrimage, his first duty is to take bath and sometimes to shave his head. This is the first business. After taking a bath, they worship the deities and then distributed charity in the holy places. So this gives us an idea about like how the rituals that they were followed in those times, that where Nanda Maharaj and I visited Lord Shiva and Ambika. As you can see, like always, we say Lakshmi Narayan, Radha Krishna, we always, and then we see here, we say like, Parvati Shiva, and then you see Lord Shiva and as well as Ambika as well. According to the Vedic system, charity is given to the Brahmanas. It is stated in the Vedic Shastras that only the Brahmanas and the Sannyasis can accept charity, because they're always engaged in the Shastras, and they're not going and doing some work and all that, because that they depend on the other sects of the society to maintain for maintenance. So they're always going and begging and asking, accepting charity from others. The cowherd men from Vrindavan gave the Brahmanas cows decorated with golden ornaments and beautiful garlands. The Brahmanas are given charity because they're not engaged in any business profession. They are supposed to be engaged in Brahminical occupations as described in the Bhagavad Gita. Namely, they must be learned and they must perform austerity and penances. Not only must they themselves be learned, they must also teach others. Brahmanas are not meant to be Brahmanas alone. They should create other Brahmanas also. If a man is found who agrees to become a Brahmana's disciple, he is also given a chance to become a Brahmana. The Brahmana is always engaged in the worship of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, the Brahmanas are eligible to accept all kinds of charity. But if the Brahmanas receive excess charity, they are to distribute it for the service of Vishnu. In the Vedic scriptures, therefore, one is recommended to give charity to the Brahmanas, and so by doing so, one pleases Lord Vishnu and all the demigods. So we can see that it's the practice that even followed to. It's a practice in the sense like the rituals are done in such a way in India also and back in many places, where when we do some puja, we kind of like give all the remnants of what has been done in the puja to the Brahmanas. So here Brahmanas, we're talking about someone who's always engaged in Brahminical occupation. So because Krishna Bhagavan mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam Maya System Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. So where he's pointing out, Krishna Bhagavan is very, very clearly saying that based on the guna, based on the nature of work, based on your inclination to a particular thing, if you are having the fighting spirit and you're ready to save people and things like that, then you are by nature, then you are a Kshatriya. But if you are more keen on spiritual knowledge, spiritual education, doing austerities and penances, then you are a Brahmana. So it's basically a nature of work and the quality of work that you do. It's not based on birth of, the birth, like being in a Brahmana field doesn't qualify him to be a Brahmana. But if he's engaged in Brahminical occupation, then he should be called a Brahmana. But in today's material world, we have converted all of that into caste system. A Brahmana, even though he's doing business, he still likes to be called as Brahmana. He will not agree if you tell them you're a Vaishya actually because you're doing business. He will never accept that. So from this Krishna Katha and these topics are so important because they give us the knowledge that how the Brahmanas used to be in those, what exactly were the Brahmanas were being engaged in those days, as it's been mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, and that they have also their duty is to pass on this knowledge, the Brahminical knowledge to all the other sects, as well as also in case if any charity that if they get excess of it, again, they have to just make sure that everything is used for the service of Vishnu. So that's the most important thing. So typical in this paragraph, it is given as to what exactly the Brahmanas are not supposed to be doing. The pilgrims take a bath, worship the deity, and give charity. They also recommended to fast one day. They should go to a place of pilgrimage and stay there for at least 3 days. The first day is spent fasting, and at night they can drink a little water because water does not break the fast. The cowherd men headed by Nanda Maharaj spent that night on the bank of Saraswati. They fasted all day and drank a little water at night. But while they were taking a rest, a great serpent from the nearby forest appeared before them and hungrily began to swallow up Nanda Maharaj. Nanda cried out helplessly, "My dear son Krishna, please come and save me from this danger. This serpent is swallowing me." When Nanda Maharaj cried for help, all the cowherd men got up and saw what was happening. They immediately took up burning logs and began to beat the snake to kill it. But in spite of being beaten with burning logs, the serpent was not about to give up swallowing Nanda Maharaj. At that time, Krishna appeared on the scene and touched the serpent with his lotus feet. Immediately upon being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna, the serpent shed its reptilian body and appeared as a very beautiful demigod named Vidyadhara. His bodily features were so beautiful that he appeared to be worshipable. There was luster and effulgence emanating from his body, and he was garlanded with a golden necklace. He offered obeisances to Lord Krishna and stood before him with great humility. Krishna then asked the demigod, "You appear to be a very nice demigod and to be favored by the goddess of fortune. How is it that you perform such abominable activities that you got a body of a serpent?" The demigod then began to narrate the story of his previous life. I just wanted to, in the interest of time, ask the team, ask everyone if it is fine that we should stop here, because it's last week we said we should stop at around 9 o'clock. So I just being respectful with the time. This is another beautiful chapter which is unfolding. We started out talking about Shivratri and how Nanda Maharaj is going to this place and where the pilgrimage is being done, and how nicely they used to worship, follow the rules of the ritual that was followed during the pilgrimage, staying on fasting and drinking during the water in the night. It's just amazing to see, like, because even now we do go, but maybe we don't follow so much, like doing the fasting and things like that, which is really what we are supposed to be doing. So as you can see, like how Krishna is always saving. And here they came all the way to Gujarat. Actually, they're playing in this place, Ambika Van, but and out of nowhere, Nanda Maharaj being closely swallowed by this serpent. And when he's crying out for help, how Krishna is all of a sudden appears on the scene, and just by the touch of the serpent, he releases the serpent and he sheds a body and just shows its actual appearance as a demigod. So all these things, we can see how divine it is, and it also gives us so much of faith that when we have so much of love and faith towards Krishna, as Krishna Bhagavan mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Kaunteya prati janihi name bhakta pranashyati. Kaunteya, that is Arjuna, you declare to the world, a devotee of Krishna will never be vanquished because I will always protect him. And here we are talking about Nanda Maharaj, who is the father of Krishna. So Krishna would definitely protect him. So we can see that he's just appeared and he's asking like such a beautiful looking demigod that's appeared. How come he's had a body of a serpent? But there's so much of background to all of these things, like, right from Putana, Bakasur, and all of them, they have all had so much of history. And here you can see, like, we'll be unfolding another beautiful divine Leela is unfolding, where Krishna is saving Nanda Maharaj, and how this serpent has got back his body, his actual demigod body. And so sure, we'll get to know a bit later, as we go down to those paragraphs, as to what's the reason why he appeared as a serpent. Prabhuji, I just wanted to be cautious about, be conscious about the time. Anything that anyone wants to mention, or maybe we can stop here and continue next week as well, if everybody wants that.
I think you can stop here, or you can go on. I don't have any comments.
Sure, Prabhuji. Amuga Prabhu, Himal Prabhu, Bharti Mati, Sakshi Mati, is everyone fine with that? We want to stop here, and Nagaraj Prabhu.
Yeah, we can complete here today. It'll be nice.
Yes, yeah, sure. Because I see like it's another beautiful Leela is unfolding, and these things have to have a continuity. So we will continue and we'll cover the whole chapter next week.
Absolutely. Be good to start from scratch. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, Prabhuji. And I have a humble request, Amuga Prabhu. This is for the channel. So we are actually doing a live streaming of our Krishna Katha and all that, which means that we have a history of all these Krishna Katha chapters that we're covering, and we have a live streaming going on as well. But and Amuga Prabhu, you did mention that we need to have at least 50 members subscribing to the channel that we have, so that it will be possible for us to do live streaming as well on YouTube. So may I humbly request all of you, like, if you can just subscribe to the channel. Amoga Prabhu has already posted that link on the Uxpree channel, and I have posted it on the Bhagavad Gita as it is channel as well. So can I request that if you can just take a bit of time, I'll post it again. If all of you can, all you have to do is just subscribe to the channel and to our channel, so that we can do live streaming during these sessions, and hopefully we have more members who are added onto the channel that will help us to reach this Krishna consciousness, to reach more people as well. So would that be okay? It's just a humble request. Hemal Prabhu and all of you, like,
all done, ready to go.
Oh, that's wonderful. Nagar Prabhu, I know you have already done that. Anil Prabhu and Sakshimati and Bharatimachi, I will post the links again. If you can subscribe to our channel, so we'll have live streaming. And yeah, yes, we Krishna Bhagwan's, our Krishna Katha should reach out to more people and have more devotees, and we are the umbrella of beautiful Sanatan Dharma. And there's nothing more beautiful than spreading about our Dharma and giving us actual knowledge, because the biggest misfortune that has happened in India is, in spite of this beautiful glories of Krishna Katha and all these things that have happened over so many millions of years, what happened is, because of so much of invasions that have happened in India, there was so much of wrong concepts and wrong stories and everything that has been born to India. So even including the people who are following Sanatan Dharma, or people who are following Hinduism, like, when in India, in other places, all that, they have a different opinion. They say, oh, why Krishna is dancing with Gopi? Oh, why he is marrying Krishna? They don't understand. And what we are trying to do here is engage ourselves in Krishna Katha and understand the actual knowledge. What is the knowledge behind all these divine Leelas of Krishna, and bring everybody to the spiritual platform. That is our goal also. So and with Ramnath Prabhu guiding us as well, so we should take this opportunity to spread Krishna Katha to more and more people on YouTube, and raise more awareness, so that everybody will be, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, armed with knowledge, Arjuna, stand up and fight. So when we arm everyone with this knowledge of Sanatan Dharma, then nobody will take us for granted. We will stand and we will fight with all this knowledge of Krishna Katha. So that is my humble request.
Yeah, very nicely said. You may or may not be aware that the second largest, quote unquote, Hindu temple in the world was established in New Jersey. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji, I see something coming up in YouTube. Yeah, very big temple.
The BAPS, Swami Narayan. and it is a architectural wonder.
Mm,
But at the same time, what you're saying is what's needed is knowledge of Sanatana Dharma. What
mm,
they present themselves is as just basically, yes, we're Hindus, but they're not presenting any knowledge.
They're not.
What they're presenting is this beautiful architectural structure. I'm sure it's beautiful. I'm sure the next time I'm in the United States, I'll try and go and just at least see what it is. But
Mm,
it's not what ISKCON is about. ISKCON is about providing knowledge. That's
it's not.
number one on the 7 purposes of ISKCON, drawn up in 1966. So, so yeah, and again, it's like, yeah, they want to present themselves as modern day Hindus, and they are modern day Hindus. It's basically a hodgepodge, but we're not.
Yeah.
We're not.
It's-
We're
So,
followers of
Prabhuji,
Chaitanya
so
with a very specific
yeah,
understanding.
the
Go ahead.
Swaminarayan movement now has started Gita classes, so it'll be interesting to see
Oh,
what
they've
they're all
started
about.
Gita classes.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. So this is something that I attended at the local Neasden temple a couple of months ago,
Oh,
and basically the
We should
newly
infiltrate
founded.
as devotees and give the right understanding. Prabhupada's
Absolutely.
Gita.
So the new place in Robbinsville that has recently opened has
mm,
actually started with the vouch of actually going through the Gita on a regular basis every Sunday from, I think it's 2 to 4.
wonderful, wonderful. I mean, that's what is important, to spread this knowledge of Gita and knowledge on that. And because it's very important, Prabhuji, these days in social media, you get hammered with so many people, because people of other religion, they follow their books, they read meticulously, and when they post comment, we don't know how to answer because we never read the Gita, or we never gone through about Krishna Katha and things like that. So that puts us on a back foot. We don't know what exactly we have to answer. But when we are armed with this knowledge, then we can stand up. And it's not that we want to stand up against anyone, but we, in our own right, we are following not just based on mental speculation or simple sentimentalism, but we are following a religion based on, backed by a solid philosophy and complete knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So that is something which is very different. So it's because when we are practicing spirituality, there are so many people will say so many things. Oh, you're worshiping idols, you're doing this, you're doing that, and all that. But when we are properly, and this is one of my biggest aim, Prabhuji, that in the temple in Manor, I'm just trying to make sure that every weekend we pick up some topic and share with the people, just like arming them with the knowledge that, why we do deity worship. We are not doing idol worship, but we are doing deity worship. And similarly, what Krishna Bhagavan is saying is not about caste system, but about varna system. So some of these things, when we refer from Gita, and we're just trying to do in a small way as well, from my end as well. So to see like how we can pass on this knowledge to everyone, and just not like come temple just like to, just see and go, but just to be some takeaway, spiritual takeaway. When they come from when they leave the temple, they
It
should
all
have,
begins with Bhagavad Gita. But
yes, yes,
then, like I said, we have to inject Bhagavad Gita as it is
as it
into
is.
the discussions. And
Yes.
then, ISKCON has to have influence. Right now, I feel sometimes ISKCON has some influence, but it's minimal. When you have something like BAPS, it's like this huge, I mean, it was just like a big news item, this big temple, 12,500 volunteers. I mean, at the Manor, we're happy we have, at 1,200 volunteers for Janmashtami. There's nothing.
12,000, yes. Yeah. Yeah, Prabhuji. I think we are all trying our best to do in our own
Yeah, we're
small.
doing our best, but at the same time, we have to understand it's not like there's competition out there. It's a kind of competition, but it's a hodgepodge competition. They're not really getting the full message of Sanatana Dharma, and that you can just like, okay, in the BAPS, yes, Swami Narayan, guess what? He worshipped Radha and Krishna. And when I went to one of their temples, yes, they had deities of Radha and Krishna. But ultimately, we know you cannot understand Radha and Krishna correctly unless you go through the agency of Lord Chaitanya, which they do not, and the Goswamis. So it's a kind of a yes, many of the Indians, they have faith in that, but many of the Indians, they're not very knowledgeable. It's our duty to educate them as best as possible to the real path given by Prabhupada and what the lineage he represents of the acharyas going through the Goswamis right to Chaitanya himself.
Absolutely.
Cannot compare Chaitanya to Swami Narayan. There's no comparison.
Yes, Prabhuji. I mean, the beautiful thing about Sanatana Dharma in like whether you fall whichever Ramanuja, Adi Shankaracharya or Paramahamsa Yogananda, the beauty thing is about Bhagavad Gita. Everybody loves Bhagavad Gita and everybody believes in Bhagavad Gita and following the scripture. So that's the reason why I feel
Yes.
Bhagavad Gita is one scripture which is which can unify all the different people
Very
of
much.
different
Very much.
whether you can follow Narayan or Swaminarayan, or whether we can follow ISKCON, or whether any sect also, including Adi Shankaracharya also, he's written a Bhashya of Bhagavad Gita. So in giving that Bhaja Govindam and giving the importance of Krishna Bhakti. So for me, I feel that is very pleasing and unifying, where when we see Bhagavad Gita, how it's such an important one for all the gurus who are glorifying Krishna. So thank you, Prabhuji. I want to just thank everyone for taking your time on a weekday. Amaga Prabhu, thank you very much. Nagaraj Prabhu, Himal
Thank
Prabhu,
you.
Sakshi
Hare
ji.
Krishna Prabhuji. So
Very-
beautifully said. Everything is about Sanatana Dharma and our what Krishna and ISKCON and
Yes.
about other really. So this is we are the topmost in terms of the philosophy and the strong foundation from the Sanatana Dharma. There is nothing else that can be compared with our Krishna consciousness.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also Ramnath Prabhu, this thing for me, why it sinks is I feel like under the umbrella of Sanatana Dharma, it's not like a Shaivites versus Vaishnavites, but understanding the beautiful relationship so
The
that
relationships, yes.
we can include, and when we get under them also under this umbrella, like a simple example, when I said, when I'm start singing in the temple, like on the weekend, Raghupati Raghav, you can see immediately the emotions coming out from all the Ram Bhaktas, like, so, and we are making it inclusive, right? So we are making everybody feel inclusive. So like that, if we make everybody, like including the people of following Shaivites, also Shivites, also making this beautiful relationship and understanding that ultimately even Lord Shiva is talking about Lord Krishna and Lord Ram. So that is all about just building up this beautiful. And for me,
Building
I
these,
feel it's time. I think we should all unify as Sanatan Dharma under the umbrella of Sanatan Dharma. Yes, we may follow a thing, but yeah, Bhagavad Gita is a unifying factor, and Sanatan Dharma should have a main thing. And well, Bhagavad Gita is all about that. You're a soul, and Sanatana is eternal. Dharma is occupation, duty, and that's what Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita. You have to do your divine duty. Your eternal duty is to serve Krishna. And that's what finally Arjuna agrees, and he says, okay, I'll fight for your satisfaction.
here's another way of thinking about it too, that brings it to what's going on in the world today. You've got a situation where the followers of the Abrahamic tradition is basically Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. It looks like they're headed into a big war. I mean, it started. Now, we as the followers of Sanatan Dharma, or I like to make the umbrella like rather large, the Dharma devotees, however they manifest, even include Buddhism and Jainism. This is part of the Dharma traditions. We should stay away from the involvement of what's going on in the world as much as possible. Let the Abrahamic traditions that are not Vedic, do what horrendous, horrible things that they're doing and will continue to do, and not get involved. That's my perspective. The Dharma devotees have to keep separate from the world events that could lead into a next world war. We don't know.
Yes, probably. We're just talking, there's some talks going on. Hopefully we don't get into other things. Focus on Krishna Bhakti, which is completely eternal.
Yeah.
We are following the actual eternal Sanatana Dharma, which is totally eternal, and Krishna Bhakti is eternal. So yeah, Krishna is our, like as Krishna says, he's like the chain behind these pearl necklace. So he's unifying all of us as Krishna Bhakti Bhaktas. Prabhuji, thank you so much for your association. We feel humbly blessed. And I want to thank all of our devotees who have joined. Thank you very much for giving us your blissful time. So next Thursday again, we'll meet and continue with this beautiful chapter that is unfolding. and I look forward to your association. Thank you, Bharati
Hare
ji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hari bol,
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
bol,
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
bol.
Thank you so much, bro.
Hare
And
Krishna.
kindly all unmute and do 3 loud Hari Bols to Shyam Prabhuji and Ramnasuk Prabhuji. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari
Hari
Bol.
bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your kind service and doing it tirelessly every week. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Nagaraj Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.